Something huge is happening in Australian farming right now. A single handshake is about to change, well, pretty much everything. Today, we're going to unpack a massive deal that's all about who controls the most essential ingredients for the food that lands on your table. Just look at that number for a second. 300 million Australian dollars. And get this, that's not a company's total value. It's not their yearly profit. Nope, that is the price for one single deal. So, this isn't just some boring business transaction. It's a massive strategic play. We're talking about one company getting its hands on the controls for two absolutely critical things for pretty much every farm in the country: what the animals eat and what the soil eats. So, okay, let's dive into the deal itself. All right, so here it is, the $300 million handshake. This is the deal that's putting Ridley Corp smack dab in the center of the supply chain. Ridley Corporation has just snapped up 100% of the Incitec Pivot Fertiliser distribution business. This move plants them right in the heart of everything. Okay, so let's get the who's who straight. The buyer, that's Ridley Corporation, a huge name in stock feed. What are they buying? They're grabbing the distribution business of Incitec Pivot Fertiliser, which we'll just call IPF. And who's selling? That would be IPF's parent company, Dyno Nobel. And the price tag, like we said, a cool $300 million. Now, this is a really important point. We need to be clear about what this deal isn't. Ridley is not buying the factories, the places that actually make the fertilizer. Nope. What they're getting is the massive network that gets it out there. This is all about logistics and controlling the supply chain. So to really get why this is such a big deal, we've got to look at the companies involved. These aren't small players. We're talking about titans of the field. So you've got two major players here. On one side, there's Ridley. Their whole world is animal nutrition. Think stock feed, supplements, the whole shebang. Then, on the other side, you've got IPF, who are, without a doubt, the #1 fertilizer distributor in Australia. So it's like the king of animal food is teaming up with the king of soil food. And the scale of this, it's just staggering. IPF controls almost half. We're talking 46% of the entire East Coast fertilizer market. Just to give you an idea of what that means, last year alone, they moved 2.2 million tons of the stuff. That is some serious market power. And, a company like IPF doesn't just pop up overnight. Their story actually starts way back in 1919 as a little farmers co-op in Victoria. And over the last century, through all these mergers and deals, it's grown into the massive corporation it is today. Okay, so this brings up a big question, right? Why on earth would a company that makes animal feed spend $300 million to get into the fertilizer business? Well, it all boils down to a really powerful business strategy called vertical integration. So if you're not familiar with that term, vertical integration is basically when a company decides to own more pieces of the puzzle. Instead of just, say, baking the bread, they also buy the flour mill and the delivery trucks. They control more of their own supply chain. And that is exactly what's happening here. Ridley was already a beast in the animal feed game. Now, by grabbing IPF's distribution network, they've just added another essential piece of the farming puzzle: fertilizer, right under their roof. They're controlling more and more of the chain. Of course, if you ask the company, this is a win-win for everybody. Ridley's chairman, Mick McMahon, basically said that putting these two huge brands together is only going to make things better for their customers, for the communities they work in, and, well, of course, for their investors. But a deal this massive doesn't just happen quietly. It sends ripples out everywhere, affecting farmers, other companies, and even the global market. So what are those ripple effects? Which leads us to the million-dollar question, or I guess the $300 million question. Is this deal going to create more competition, or is it going to create less? Well, there are really two schools of thought on this. It's kind of funny, but one argument is that it could actually boost competition. The thinking goes that farmers might get a little spooked by one company holding all the cards and start looking for other options. But then there's the other side, the big worry for smaller producers who now have to go head-to-head with this new, super powerful giant. And just when you think you've got it all figured out, there's this wild global twist. IPF's parent company, right? They're a massive supplier of ammonium nitrate. Now that stuff's in fertilizer, but it's also a key ingredient in explosives. And get this, it makes them the biggest supplier in North America and the second biggest in the entire world. It just goes to show how tangled up these global supply chains really are. All right, let's pull back for the big picture here. Let's ask the biggest question of all. Forget about business strategy for a second. What does a deal like this actually mean for the future of food in Australia? Because at its heart, this isn't just about one company buying another. This signals a really deep, fundamental shift in the very wiring of the country's agricultural supply chain. What this deal really shines a spotlight on is a bigger trend that's been happening for a while. We're seeing a strategic shift away from making things here at home and toward a model where we rely more on importing stuff, essential stuff like fertilizer. And the end result of that shift? Well, it's pretty clear. It makes Australia more and more reliant on other countries for the very things we need to grow our own food. It's about food security. And that's where we'll leave it. This $300 million deal might be signed and sealed, but it opens up a much, much bigger conversation. It leaves us all with one really crucial question to think about. Just how secure is a nation's food supply when the key ingredients don't come from home anymore?